Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing? Today we're going to be doing a special Halloween video. I rarely make the Halloween deadline, so it's a very rare opportunity for me to do a Halloween video. God, this is fucking blinding me. Alright, I gotta turn the fucking lights on. Alright, that's better. I can actually fucking see now. Anyway, how you guys doing? Today we're going to be reviewing a very special game. It's in a franchise that I hold very dear to me. One of my favorites, contains my favorite game of all time. Has so many great entries that I could list them on, and then company went make Pachinko. It's Castlevania from Konami. I've tried to review this game many times before. God, I think even 3 separate occasions. It first started off with the original game review when I did scripted videos way back in the day, well, about 2 years ago, and I scrapped that because the script wasn't that great. I was still new to scripting, and then later down the line, when I returned to YouTube in May 2020, I had a Castlevania video that was about to be released, and for some reason all the footage that was in that video just disappeared from the timeline, so I would have had to have redone that video or re-edit the whole video. And at that point I just decided I should make a definitive Castlevania review. No rambling. Okay, maybe a little bit of rambling because I'm like that. It's gonna be a very honest take about Castlevania for Halloween. One thing we should note before we get into this is the time that Castlevania was released. When Castlevania was released, it was, I believe, mid-1987, and this was before games started to transition from arcade style over to what we know, the NES today, to be the next era of gaming, where games were longer, they had endings. Sure, before you would see games like Ghosts and Goblins and Mario Brothers, but for the most part it was just Nintendo black box games, and then the occasional third-party game like, well, Capcom was on there early, and we'd see Trojan, the fuck, like I said, Ghosts and Goblins, and putting that comparatively to Castlevania, it was damn near revolutionary for the action platformer. The game was tight, the music was amazing, there were multiple tracks. Overall, it really just changed what we'd see in the genre. And then Ninja Gaiden came along afterwards, Adventure Island, Kirby, all action platformers. Anyway, why don't we get into the story? This story goes on for generations. The first Castlevania game isn't actually the start of the story. There's still a bunch of stuff that happened before then with the Belmonts and how that whip came to be. It's mostly the PS2 era stuff, which I have not played. For now, all we know is that our man, Simon Belmont, or Simon Belmondo, we're gonna say Belmont because that's the normal name. He goes off to fight Dracula because he's the big poopy man. He wants to kill everyone because, I don't know, he lost a game of poker or something. Who knows? And yeah, I will admit this game doesn't really have a great story. It didn't start off with a great story. Later down the line, they try to develop it a little bit more, but it's not super interesting. Where Castlevania is at, anyway, is the gameplay. Nowadays, we can kind of break Castlevania up into 2 separate different gameplay styles. There's the Metroidvania, and then there's the linear, just action platformer. No exploring, just go from point A to point B with your whip, and this is exactly what Castlevania was back in the day. You start off with a whip. You can upgrade that whip by whipping more candles that give you more upgrades to your whip so that you can whip stuff better, and then whip more candles. A lot of whips in there. But not only do you have your whip, but you also have a whole bunch of sub-weapons that you can use against the monsters in Dracula's castle. There's the Dagger, which really just kind of sucks. It's not a very good weapon. I guess the key reason why you would want it is its range, but the damage is so low, and honestly it takes about 2 seconds to just run up and just whip the enemy and do a lot more damage and just clear it a lot faster. So it's not really useful for really anything at all. Just try to avoid it. It's usually the weapon that you accidentally pick up and proceed to rage because you lost the holy water. Next up is the axe, which is a lot better because it gives you a little bit of verticality in your attack, so you can throw upwards towards, say, this giant bat here, and you can also reach enemies that you don't really feel like fighting one-on-one, so you just take them out from below. Next up we have the Stopwatch, which is where things really start to get interesting. The Stopwatch freezes time for a couple of seconds, which is a lot more useful than you think in Castlevania, because you could either just take that time to wail on enemies, or you can play baby strats and just go right past them. Definitely one of the best sub-weapons in the game. Has its uses, but in later games it would become more useful because of what we're about to talk about pretty soon. Second to last, we have the cross, which is probably the most famous sub-weapon in the franchise, because after the first game, it basically took the form as the best sub-weapon in the game, like in Castlevania 3. It's a boomerang, so you throw one, and then it comes back. And then once you get the upgrades for it, you can throw 2 or 3 boomerangs at once, and that does about 6 points of damage. It's very rare though, so don't expect to come across this too often. And last but not least, we have the holy water, which is broken. So incredibly broken. I consider this as a negative, even though I do use the holy water for some bosses, because, I don't know, it just makes my life easier, especially for this review. But it is a negative because not only does it take away the use of all the other sub-weapons, but it also makes everything a joke. Just in general, everything's a joke with the holy water. Alright, let me tell you this. You throw one, it stuns the enemies, does a shit ton of damage. I mean a whole shit ton. You see this knight over here? This knight takes 9 hits with your whip. You throw one, and he's dead. Just like that. You do the same thing with bosses. Throw one at, say, the Grim Reaper over here. You just lock him in place, and it does so much damage, and you just keep throwing the holy water. Throughout your travels in Dracula's pretty mansion, you'll fight a whole bunch of different monsters. You'll see generic skeletons, there's these flea men here, which people say are annoying. There's these knights that I've already mentioned, which are so tanky. Without the holy water, it would take a long ass time, and especially in this fucking hallway before the Grim Reaper. Wow, they are relentless, combined with the Medusa heads, which I also hear are the most annoying enemies in the game, wherein Medusa heads are more support, to either knock you off a cliff, or to overwhelm you when you're fighting these goddamn knights. And that's honestly how I feel about most enemies. A lot of them are just like support monsters to knock you into bottomless pits. Take stage 4 here, for example. There's a bat, and it keeps flying, and the likelihood is that combined with these mermen, you're gonna get hit and fall off the moving platform, which is really annoying your first few times around. Other times, like I said, they'll just send a whole bunch of them out to overwhelm you, and you gotta know how to counter this. And going back to stage 4, the second part of that level, where they're dropping flea men on you, the key to this section, I hear a lot of people saying that it's so hard, but it's never really a problem, because all you gotta do is keep your fucking cool. Just take your time, make sure to stop when the doves here drop the flea men, and just whip them as they land to the ground. Once you're done crossing all these tricky sections with bottomless pits and monsters trying to overwhelm you, you will fight a boss. And the bosses are usually where things get more challenging, at least until you've discovered the holy water. That is, until you get to Dracula, which is honestly probably the best boss fight on the NES, up to that point anyway. And man, he's pretty fucking hard, I won't even lie to you there. A while back, I played this game on emulator for my review when I tried to review this game last year, and I was actually doing great. I mean, I had a no-death run going, and I was at Dracula, and unfortunately, I think the footage is gone, but he kicked my ass. Like I said, everything up to Dracula is at least manageable if you have a strategy. Dracula, you gotta get some skill and a bit of luck there, because this fucking bastard can spawn on you in his first phase. He has a very simple pattern. All he does is teleport, and then he shoots fire. But you gotta be so precise with that jump, and then you gotta hit him during that jump. And of course, like I said, the bastard likes to teleport into you like he's begging you to suck his cock. And I think that's actually what used to get me the most, is just teleporting. But most of the time, you will be okay as long as you just try not to turn around when you know he's about to teleport, because that won't give you enough time to get away. Now we get to his second phase, and this phase is a lot easier if you brought holy water. And make sure to hit him in the head, because if you hit his body, it does jack shit for damage. So just throw holy water, hit him in the head. It's not really a big challenge, but it still can get you when he shoots fire. And then sometimes he does like small leaps, so he might be able to like trap you in a corner. And honestly, after that first phase, you might not be able to tank a hit, so you might just die in one hit, which is always annoying, because if you die, then well, you gotta do the first phase again, so good luck with that. Luckily, this game shows a little bit of mercy. When you get a game over, you start at the boss battle, which is honestly, thank fucking god. I think fucking Ninja Gaiden can learn a little bit from Castlevania here, starting you back from like, god, the beginning of the stage, and then like the stage is broken up to acts, so it's honestly more like 3 stages. Fucking Ninja Gaiden, I gotta talk about that one day. But once you finally kill Dracula, credits roll, the castle crumbles, and you get to see the wonky credits that they did trying to be funny. They don't do that shit anymore, I can tell you that. Fake credits, the programmers will get angry about that one. Imagine if I worked on a fucking game and then some dickhead calls me Chid Cunson. It would be frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. And even though it's a short game, I'd say it's worth it. It really is just solid enough to buy it. It's highly replayable. The fucking game came out on Intellivision too. I really want that game, by the way. I just keep forgetting about it. The game can be quite tricky. There's a few unfair bits. Definitely not anything like Ghosts and Goblins. It's a fun game. It's fun. It's great. It's just what came afterwards was even better. Castlevania 3 is where it's at. I know some people don't like the difficulty on that one, but you can switch characters, there's branching paths, the stages are bigger, there's more enemies. It doesn't really put down the first game, it just means that you're gonna go to 3 more than 1. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the music. The music is iconic. It's still being used in the later Castlevania games before Konami stopped making games. It's just so much iconic music, most of it being from the first game and the second game too. Second game has a lot of classics. In Castlevania 3, I think that game had a slightly better soundtrack, but there were some pieces in there that focused fully on atmosphere, where it's just like little beeps and boops like in the cave sections. The first Castlevania managed to balance atmosphere in some of its tracks, combined with just catchy themes. And combine that with the gameplay, like I said, you just got something solid. It's a good game. It's a great game. I'm going to give it a score of 8.5. I'm taking off a little bit because of it's a pretty short game. 3 is better, and also it has a few unfair bits, like in the last stage, and you can tell just they were running out of space there. And the holy water I do consider a negative. Just the balance wasn't that great with the sub-weapons. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a great Halloween. I know I'm gonna be playing some games and doing nothing because I have no friends, and all I got is this. I got plastic to play with Halloween. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Hopefully, I know I took a pretty long break back there, but I'm hoping to get back to YouTube more consistently. But besides that, you guys have a good day. See ya.